What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This video is long overdue. This is on a PC that I actually did back in May. It was part of a, we'll call it a web series that I did called Extreme PCs, sort of a new format that I tried out, and I just really like this build. I felt that it deserved its own video. That being said, if you like what you see here and you want to see more information as far as what went into the build, I highly recommend checking out the previous videos. Just go back through my channel a few months. It's called Extreme PCs. There's some build logs in there, kind of talk about the components that go into the build, and also sort of get some insight into how we arrived at the build that we did. But anyway, this is one of my favorite builds that I've done to date. There was a lot of things that I did in this build that I'm really happy with and really proud of. So again, I just kind of wanted to show it off to you guys and also open up the discussion in case you guys have any questions as far as how I was able to do some of the things that I did. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at it here and see what you guys think. I am very pleased with the way this turned out, to say the least. Mostly because pretty much every idea that I wanted to implement, I was able to do. Just a few snags along the way, but for the most part, it turned out almost exactly the way I envisioned it. And yeah, I'm very happy. So now I do want to say, on film here, at least on this screen, I don't know how well these colors show up. Purples and blues tend to really play tricks with the camera, so I hope that when I edit and upload this video it shows up a little bit better, but I will have plenty of pictures posted. So if you want to see more of this build, definitely check out my Instagram, my website, that sort of thing. So anyway, I guess I'll dive right in here and just kind of show off a couple of the features that I was able to implement in this build that are a little bit unique, and some stuff that I've been wanting to try for a while now, and just finally had the right build to sort of mess around with. So I guess the first thing that stands out that you're noticing is the LED screen that's built into the front panel. So that's basically, it's a little 5-inch LCD display. There's these things are floating around on eBay and Amazon. They're kind of meant for Raspberry Pis, but it works out really well to use as just sort of a way to spice up the build. You just plug in an HDMI cable, route it through and around to the back of your graphics card, and essentially use it as a second monitor. And then this one in particular is powered by USB. So I just installed an internal USB-A adapter. I don't know, I'll link it in the description. I don't remember exactly what they call it, but yeah, it's got a 480 by 800 resolution, and it actually looks pretty darn good. I mean, it's not gonna give you the greatest image quality in the world as far as color depth goes, but for 40 or 50 bucks, I guess you can't expect too much from an LCD display. So the next thing I did here that I've been wanting to do for a while, finally had a chance to do it, is mounting the D5 pump with the plexi top in such a way that it really shows off how cool that top looks with the fluid going through it. And I've had this idea where, make it so that the pump looks like it's just in the floor or basement of the case or panel somehow. So I mounted it, obviously. I actually mounted this to the side of the drive tray and just mounted it at an angle where not only did it directly feed the front radiator, but poked up enough to where I could cut this panel. Excuse the dust. I left this glossy for reflection purposes, but this sucker really collects dust. Now this is where the Dremel Moto saw comes in handy, because obviously I had to cut this around to make it look like the pump is sort of built into the basement. But yeah, the pump's being fed directly by the reservoir as usual, and then it goes straight into the radiator. There is a drain valve installed over there. This system drains very easily because of the way everything is positioned. It also fills very easily as well. And then yeah, it comes up from there. Now I wanted to keep this sort of angled approach to everything to fit the theme, so that's why I've got these different bends going in different directions. I also wanted to create some depth to the build, so I've got the reservoir mounted forward, so that the tubing routing has to kind of move from the front to the back of the case. Also needed to make sure that we would be able to remove any of these components, replace, add, upgrade, that sort of thing, without the liquid cooling loop sort of being in the way. So that's a lot of the reason that everything seems to be shoved over towards the front of the case. Just utilizing that space over there, but also maintaining access to the motherboard. Processor shouldn't have to be upgraded. Maybe we want to add more RAM later on, swap out the video card, that sort of thing. So just for the sake of not having to disassemble the loop in order to do that stuff, that's sort of the idea behind pushing things this way. Another thing I did was I actually have the reservoir, it's mounted to the top. I just kind of built a plate, installed a bulkhead fitting, and then a male-to-male screwed it into that. So not only is there easy access to the fill port up here once you remove this top panel, but it's also suspending this reservoir kind of out here. Of course, it's braced with a couple more tubing runs, so it's very stable. But that way you're not restricted to having the reservoir sort of mounted to, you know, a wall somewhere, or, you know, to the radiator. So the 980 that she already had that we used for the build did not have a backplate, so I went ahead and fabricated one. It's just acrylic, and then I installed vinyl over it and created these sort of patterns on here. Most everything in this build, at least I tried my best, is to mimic these angles, not only that are sort of dictated on the motherboard itself, but also just the nature of the design of the things that she does. I wanted to carry that theme throughout the entire build. I use I've got gloss black, matte black, and then a mixture of the two to create a little bit of depth. I've got these panels sort of floating in different planes so that we create some depth there and really give this build sort of a three-dimensional look. So again, I think it worked out really well. I can honestly say I don't think there's anything that I would change about this or do over. Again, it worked out really well. This was sort of an accident because originally, if you saw the last video, I was meaning to use a SwiftTech all-in-one cooler converted over to rigid tubing, which is where I took this block from. But when I got the system up and running, the pump was way too loud and I could not get the thing to shut up. So I ended up just going with a D5 pump, which we know is mostly quiet, and a 240 by 40 millimeter EK radiator. So again, it was kind of a happy accident that it worked out this way, because I was finally able to sort of implement this idea here that I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm glad that even though it seemed like a pain at the time, it really worked out as far as the having fun with the build and trying some new things. So I guess I will comment on this block here. I love this block. I did have a black EK Supremacy Evo block that I could have used, but I think the design of this water block fits the theme a lot better with these chamfered, you know, sort of angles on here. And then of course being clear to where you can see the UV reactive fluid flowing through there is a bonus. So there it is, guys. I hope you liked it, and as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I will try my best to link as many of the components that I used in this build in the description down below. I know a lot of you guys are going to have questions about the little LCD display. I plan on doing a separate video on that. I'm putting one in a build that I'm actually working on right now, so I'm going to shoot some separate video on that. and try to do, I guess, what we'd call a tutorial on how to install one of those things in your rig. It's actually pretty simple, but I feel like that deserves its own video. But aside from that, as always, appreciate you guys checking out the channel, and I will see you in the next video.